explainer. We all know that universal sinking feeling, right? You've got a looming deadline, maybe a messy house, or that new fitness routine you absolutely swore you'd start today. And yet, somehow, you find yourself endlessly scrolling on your phone, or, suddenly deciding the fridge desperately needs a deep clean. We have all been trapped in that cycle of putting things off. But today, we are going to build a foolproof tactical guide to finally defeating procrastination. We're drawing on two incredibly powerful sources here: the behavioral insights from James Clear's best-selling book, Atomic Habits, and a brilliant ground-level framework from the Center for Clinical Interventions. So this isn't about feeling guilty anymore, it's about building actionable systems.
To give you a little cognitive relief right off the bat, we're going to break this whole daunting task down into a clear step-by-step journey. We'll start by looking at the procrastination trap, then we'll shift our mindset to systems over goals, and uncover the 4 laws of habits. Once we've got the psychology down, we'll hit the ground running with practical tactics to start and finish up with making the system stick.
All right, Section 1, the procrastination trap.
So why is it that our most well-intentioned efforts usually just crash and burn? Well, it's because of a concept James Clear calls the valley of disappointment. See, we humans have this major flaw. We expect progress to be quick. We expect it to be linear. We think, okay, if I put in an hour of hard work, I should see an hour's worth of results right away. But in reality, the results of our efforts are almost always delayed. They sit on what Clear refers to as a plateau of latent potential. And because we don't see that immediate linear progress, we fall straight into this valley of disappointment. We lose our motivation, and boom, we retreat right back to our comfortable procrastinating habits.
Moving right along to Section 2, Systems over Goals.
To actually escape that valley, we need a fundamental shift in how we view our tasks. Society always teaches us to be goal-oriented, right? But think about it. When you only focus on goals, on that final product, you're essentially forcing yourself to wait to be happy until you cross the finish line. Clear argues that we need a systems-first mentality instead. Rather than stressing over the final product, you stop waiting to give yourself permission to feel successful.
Which brings us to one of the most powerful metaphors in our explainer today. Clear states, and I love this, habits are the compound interest of self-improvement. Just like money multiplies through compound interest, the effects of your habits multiply as you repeat them. It's not about some magical overnight transformation. It's about tiny, consistent investments in your system.
And the math behind this is just fascinating. It's known as the aggregation of marginal gains. Listen to this. If you focus on your system and manage to get just 1% better each day, those small daily improvements actually compound. By the time a single year is done, you don't end up twice as good. No, you end up 37 times better. Seriously, 37 times. That right there is the pure power of focusing on daily systems instead of distant goals.
All right, Section 3, the 4 laws of habits.
To understand how these compounding habits are actually formed in our brains, we can look at a simple 4-step feedback loop. According to James Clear, literally every habit you have, yes, even your procrastination habits, runs on this exact loop. First, there's a cue, which triggers your brain to initiate a behavior. That leads to a craving, which is the motivational force. Then comes the response, the actual habit you perform. And finally, the reward. That reward satisfies the craving and teaches your brain to remember this loop for next time.
And knowing this shows us exactly how we can hack that very loop. These are the 4 laws of behavior change. If you want to build a good habit to replace your procrastination, you make the cue obvious, the craving attractive, the response easy, and the reward satisfying. But what about breaking those bad procrastination habits? You simply invert the rules. Make the distractions invisible, unattractive, difficult, and unsatisfying. I mean, literally hide your phone in another room. Boom, you've just made the bad habit invisible and difficult.
That brings us to Section 4, practical tactics to start.
Okay, so we've covered the high-level philosophy of atomic habits. Now it's time to pivot into the ground-level execution using some deeply practical tactics from the Center for Clinical Interventions. The big question is, how do we actually start? It's absolutely vital. Because, let's be real, just knowing the habit loop isn't quite enough when you're staring down a terrifying, massive project that you've been dreading for weeks. The psychological barrier is just huge. We need a structured way to cut through that haze and simply begin. While the Center for Clinical Interventions provides an incredible 3-step preparatory framework for this exact moment. Before you even try to do the work, you need clarity, you prioritize, you grade, and you tell time. Let's break these down real quick.
First up, you create a to-do list to prioritize based on what is genuinely urgent, not just what you happen to feel like doing. But the real magic happens when you grade the task. Grading basically means breaking a massive, scary task into tiny, manageable micro steps. If your task is write an essay, well, that's completely overwhelming. But if your graded step 1 is just open a blank document and write the title, suddenly your brain doesn't feel so threatened, right? It's just a small chunk. Finally, you tell time. This means actively tracking how long these small steps actually take, so you basically stop overestimating the pain of the work.
Once your task is graded, you can deploy some clever situational strategies. The CCI suggests a few rapid-fire approaches here. You could try worst first. That's knocking out the most dreaded task first thing in the day so everything else feels like a total breeze. Or try using momentum, where you do a fun, energizing task first and then immediately switch to the dreaded task without taking a break. You can also match task types to your prime time and prime place, so doing your heavy analytical work when your energy is highest and an environment completely free of social distractions.
Now, a highly effective tactic for this is the just 5 minutes approach. This perfectly mirrors James Clear's famous 2-minute rule. Get this, you don't commit to finishing the task. You literally just commit to doing 5 minutes of it. It's a trick. You are lowering the psychological barrier to entry so drastically that your brain basically says, well, okay, I can tolerate anything for 5 minutes. And once the clock starts and you get the ball rolling, that momentum usually carries you right past that 5-minute mark anyway.
Which leads us to our final part, Section 5, making the system stick.
So, you finally started. Awesome. But how do we maintain this? How do we ensure we don't just slip right back into the procrastination trap by tomorrow afternoon? Well, we can use a concept called unscheduling. Traditional scheduling is super rigid, right? You plan to work from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. But if you get interrupted or you just fail to start at 2, you feel like a total failure and you give up for the whole day. Unscheduling completely flips this. You only mark off a 30-minute block on your calendar after you've successfully worked. It accommodates spontaneity, it guarantees you literally can't fail at the schedule, and it gives you this great visual record of your achievements as you fill up your day with completed blocks.
Another absolutely crucial maintenance tip is utilizing visual reminders. If forgetting tasks is part of why you procrastinate, you simply can't rely on your memory. If it's out of sight, it's out of mind. So use sticky notes, put reminders on your bathroom mirror, or tell a trusted friend what your goals are. Creating that vital accountability and keeping the tasks literally in your face makes the cue to work super obvious. And hey, that perfectly aligns with Clear's first law of behavior change.
And listen, we cannot forget about rewards. Procrastinators often engage in what we call guilty pleasure, like watching TV when they know they really should be working. All that does is drain your energy. The CCI really emphasizes planning guilt-free rewards instead. If you actually plan to watch your favorite show after you complete 2 unscheduled blocks of work, that reward actually replenishes your energy. A truly sustainable system requires a balance between achievement and pleasure.
And this perfectly aligns with James Clear's cardinal rule of behavior change. What is immediately rewarded is repeated. What is immediately punished is avoided. By planning those guilt-free rewards directly after your graded tasks, you are completing this psychological habit loop. You're teaching your brain that, hey, tackling the hard stuff actually leads to a really satisfying outcome.
So the absolutely crucial point we arrive at today is this equation right here. When we marry the big picture philosophy of getting just 1% better every day through compound interest with the ground level tactics of grading tasks, using the 5-minute rule, and unscheduling our time, we create an unstoppable anti-procrastination system. You don't need motivation, folks. You just need your system.
I'll leave you with this provocative thought to cap off our explainer today. Take a second and look at whatever task has been weighing heavily on your mind lately. Don't focus on finishing it. What is the 1 2-minute action you can take right now, the exact moment this explainer ends, to trigger your new system? Open the document, put on your running shoes, just start the clock.
You've got the tools now, so go get that compound interest.